Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for our weekly Best and Worst Tracks of the Week segment where I round up all the tracks I heard from this past week, tell you what I thought of them. Were they the best? Were they kind of meh? Or were they the worst tracks I heard this week? Before we get into the worst tracks of the week, let's get into the songs that I was just kind of indifferent toward. We have the new Radio Department single, Swedish Guns, easily one of the most underwhelming singles I've heard from these guys, and this is a pretty easygoing band. They're not exactly a hard and heavy band. Usually they have this really sweet, catchy, blissful, jangle pop sound to their songs, but they really kind of trashed it for this new track over here in favor of something that just doesn't really sound anything like the distinct style the band has crafted up until this point. It's a little punchier, and it seems like they're going for something that's a bit more upbeat, a little more rhythmic, but the end result, I think, is just kind of generic. We have a new track from Mono, Ellie's Heartbeat. I'm just not feeling this track at all. I'm feeling more like meh no instead of mono. Just another kind of generic piece of post-rock, unfortunately. We have Bon Iver with 33 God. A lot of people have been hyping this track up because they want to hear that new Bon Iver record, saying that the songs so far have been amazing. Unfortunately, I'm pretty indifferent toward this new one. Seems a little more epic and ambitious than a lot of the stuff from his previous record, although I find the lyrics super obnoxious on this track. Here are some of them. Come in for tea. Yeah, just not feeling that. And also, this to me just kind of feels like, I don't know, like a watered down Peter Gabriel song. Like everything I'm hearing from this Bon Iver record so far just seems like just pulling so hard from Peter Gabriel's discography. Excuse me. Yeah, just unashamedly so, I would say. And it's almost like he's kind of like distracting from it with the obnoxious lyrics and the totally ridiculous song titles. Moving on from there, we have the new Placebo song with Jesus' Son. Placebo lives up to the name of the band on this track and really does nothing for me, unfortunately. And those are the tracks I was just feeling meh on. But here are the worst tracks of the week. Unquestionably. Okay, and remember, all these tracks are linked and referenced down there in the description box, as well as our Amazon Associates link. Of course, if you want to support this segment, you can hit that link. If you live in the U.S., anything you buy on Amazon, we get kickback from it. It does not add to your overall price. Use it to buy some stuff you were going to buy anyway. Cool? All right, worst tracks of the week. Listed in order of from least worst to worst. We have DJ Premier with Timmy Turner. The Preemix of the new Designer track sounds awful. Not only are Designer's vocals just mixed terribly to the point where they almost hurt the ears, but DJ Premier's scratching and DJ cuts on this thing just feel so out of place. And the alterations he makes to the instrumental itself sound terrible. Easily one of the worst remixes I've ever heard. Not that I think DJ Premier is not talented. You know, he's put out together plenty of great beats and remixes over the years. It just kind of seems like sticking a square peg into a round hole on this one. They just don't really complement each other, I think. Moving on from there, Health with the song Crusher. This was a new Adult Swim single, and you would think it would be interesting given the mix of sounds and influences going into this thing. It's kind of like droney and ambient, but it's also super oppressive and distorted and noisy, and there's some trap-flavored percussion in there too. And obviously some of the noise rock elements that Health always carries in their music pop up as well. Again, a really interesting mix of influences and sounds, and yet it just falls so miserably flat and feels terribly uneventful, like nothing's going on at all of interest. Moving on from there, we have M.I.A. with Freedun featuring Zayn, of all people. And M.I.A. unfortunately drops another drab, boring, uninteresting single. I mean, this girl used to drop some of the most revolutionary, crazy, off-the-wall, political, but also party animal type music to ever be recorded. And now her new music is just so underwhelming. Like, it's so drab. Again, I use the word drab. I keep saying it because it's really what it is. There's just nothing of interest going on. It's just so flat. It's so dynamicless. It's so lifeless. But moving on from there to something that has a lot more life, though it's not necessarily the better for it. It's the new Sleigh Bells single, It's Just Us Now, which easily has the worst transition from a verse to a chorus I've heard this decade. I would not be surprised if this had the worst transition from a verse to a chorus for the next several years as well, and just kind of held that title for the 2010s. It's like the song almost kind of has a breakdown, like an old horrible lemon of a car, and then just kind of kicks up, and all of a sudden you're kind of like 30 seconds into the future for whatever reason, and the chorus is going. It's kind of miserably sputters its way through this horrible structure the band has pulled together for this track, and the music video is so edgy. Can't help but cringe a little at it, to be honest. So not liking that track at all. And of course it comes with Sleigh Bells' usual horrible sound of overly distorted guitars, shouty, yelpy, awful lead vocals, terrible mixing, just everything sounds so sunburnt and brittle and awful. So, at least they're consistent, I guess. And finally, the worst song of the week, Black Eyed Peas with Where's the Love. Now, you may know, if you are a Black Eyed Peas fan, or at least, a hip-hop fan from the 90s and the early 2000s, that they have already released the song. What are you talking about, Anthony? That's a great Black Eyed Peas song. That's a real good song. Black Eyed Peas, they used to be good back in the day. Well, they have re-released this track, re-recorded this track with a bunch of other artists, singers, rappers, celebs, and the end result is 100% throw up, cringe, I want to die. Especially toward the end of the track where DJ Khaled has a feature, and he's like, they don't want us to love each other. They don't want us to love. And, it's DJ Khaled's usual unmedicated paranoia getting to him again, and talking about they wanting this and they not wanting that, and they attacking him, and they being focused on everything that they and him and we are doing. He really needs to get it checked out, because it's getting, kind of worrisome. I worry about the guy. He's thinking that there are these people around every corner that don't want him to be healthy, don't want him to be successful, so on and so forth. It's kind of sad. And honestly, some of the rap verses in this thing, like A$AP Rocky's rap verse in this thing's trash. And the reasoning is like, I don't vote. It's so terrible. And Jaden Smith standing right next to him looking so moody. He looks so moody. And it's actually a pretty depressing and I don't know, brain-destroying rendition of what was once a pretty great track from the Black Eyed Peas. If all of you know these guys are their terrible party songs from the mid and late 2000s, I encourage you, check out their early stuff, because they have some great music in their back catalog. All right, so now that we're out of that depressing worst tracks of the week segment, let's move into what I feel were the best tracks this week. We have a producer by the name of Crapface collaborating with Elevation on this track called Swim Meet. Comes off of an EP, I believe. And this track is kind of like one of those quirky, fun, PC music style bubblegum bass cuts. But this song has a really cool sample worked in from Rihanna's Work that's actually super catchy and works against a nutty, fun, and melodic beat that you guys definitely got to hear. This was a great track. Definitely a highlight for me this week. Moving on from there, Sampha with Blood on Me, soul singer and songwriter, who you may remember from Subtract's big breakout debut record. He had kind of a rough start, in my opinion, going solo, but it sounds like he's really kind of coming into his own and delivering a solidly built and catchy and passionate song on this new cut over here. I've always known he was a very good singer since I've had been hearing him on those Subtract tracks, but then I was like, oh well, he's not really writing all that well when I was listening to his initial solo stuff. Now it seems like he's really kind of building that material up with some good writing, some good production, and some passionate vocals as well. So I'm interested to hear what he's going to do in the future, with a new album or something like that. Moving on from there, Dolla with 3 Ways featuring Travis Scott. Dolla, his campaign project is on the way. This track was super catchy. Not going to go too deep into it because I'm going to review the album very soon, but I highly recommend this, as I have almost every track he released from this project so far. Pretty hyped for it. Also, don't want to get too deeply into, but want to turn you guys on to the new Alcest track, atmospheric black metal over here. That's super melodic, super quality. That has a new album on the way from that project too, that I'm also going to be reviewing. I want to reference Banks with Gemini feed. Banks, a singer who previously I found kind of underwhelming, was kind of indifferent toward her last record. But this new song over here is easily one of her catchiest and most upbeat and vibrant tracks that I think she's ever released. Really got stuck in my head on the first listen. So I'm looking forward to maybe her putting out a new full-length record that has a little bit more oomph to it, because this track is certainly the better for it. So yeah, a track from an artist who I wasn't anticipating, would come through with a single that I was like, wow, that kind of stopped me in my tracks right there. Moving on from there, a couple more. We have Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds with Jesus Alone, a soul-crushingly dark ballad from Nick Cave over here, and a new album on the way too, just around the corner. So I'm actually really excited for the tone of this new record, given just how dismal and again, like soul crushing this song is. There were lots of very spacey and soft songs from Nick Cave's last record, but I feel like that ominous, looming darkness that I usually enjoy in his music just wasn't there. It seems to have returned. It seems to have returned on this new cut over here. So I'm pretty psyched about that. Everything has a new track out. The British art pop outfit called I Believe It Now, and it's easily one of their most blissful cuts yet. Not one of their most experimental, but still has a solid chorus to it and some beautiful vocal harmonies. I have to reference also Goldlink's new track featuring BadBadNotGood and Kaytranada on production. This track was a given to be good just on production alone, but Goldlink, even though I thought his last record was unbearable, his vocals are actually pretty great on this cut. Can't really, fault the kid on this one. He's coming into his own a little bit. He sounds less goofy. Then the vocals are more listenable. And again, the production does connect a lot of the dots, but still, he was ruining the beats on his last record, even though some of them were good. This time, not so much the case. It's kind of a passionately sung, hip-hop infused pop track. There's a lot of different influences going on in his music, and it seems like he's finding a way where those sounds are coming together in a harmonious way, as opposed to clashing with one another violently, and the end result being nearly unlistenable, in my opinion. And finally, I got to reference the new Suicide Boys track with Denzel Curry titled Ultimate Suicide. Suicide Boys, I just quickly reviewed their recent EP not too long ago, remarked on the fact that they sounded really dark, really southern, definitely a Bone Thugs or a 3-6 Mafia vibe. It was kind of mean, kind of, again, kind of dark, but it wasn't like taking it so far that I was amazed or impressed. It didn't seem much darker than like a Bones track or anything like that, right? So I hear this new track. It is in the fucking red. It is like the nutsiest thing that I think either of these guys have ever posted. But I think the Suicide Boys, they would have to really amp up the aggression in the way that they did on this cut if they were going to bring Denzel Curry on. Because Denzel Curry, his last record was animalistic. And it seems like they're really trying to do their best to go over the top, make the hardest, the grimiest, the most blood-soaked track that they've ever recorded, now that Denzel Curry is kind of coming together with them on this cut. And it's nuts, man. It is like it is bodies on bodies on bodies, disgustingly angry and mean. This is a track I would not want to meet in a dark alleyway by myself. That's all I'm saying. Okay, it's either going to kill you, it's going to rob you, or something worse, something even worse, or just do both. Because once it's killed you, it could take your shit. So there you go. Those are my favorite tracks of the week. And prior to that, the worst tracks of the week. And also the songs I was just kind of meh on, indifferent toward. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, if you want to support this segment, hit up that Amazon Associates link down there in the description. If you live in the U.S., we get kickback from whatever you pick up. does not add to the price. And again, all these songs that I've referenced, they are either linked or listed down there in the description box, so you could check them out for yourself. And that's it. Cool? Cool. All right, see you guys in the next video.